Can you occasionally cheat on the carnivore diet? And what really happens if you do? Shawn Baker, arguably the most popular carnivore doctor in the world, cheated on the carnivore diet. And what happened to him will truly shock you. Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Westman, and welcome to my channel where I review and debunk nutritional misinformation online. In this video, we're going to hear from Dr. Shawn Baker, whom I've met. He's a reasonable doctor, nice guy, and he's going to tell a story about what happened when he cheated on a carnivore diet. I want to thank our friends at Element for sponsoring today's video. Element has a great mixture of sodium, potassium, and magnesium, everything you need on a keto diet. But specifically, this raw, unflavored version, which is labeled with a blue, teal-colored banner. This teal-colored, raw, unflavored version does not contain stevia, sugar, or any additives except a science-backed mix of 3 electrolytes our bodies need in quantities that have been already measured out for you. This is great for a keto diet, but most important thing is that it tastes great. As you know, electrolytes are really important, especially if you're following a keto or a carnivore diet. Get a free 8-count sample pack of Element's most popular drink mix flavors with any purchase. That's a great way to try it out and to share Element with a friend. Get yours at drinklmnt.com/Eric Westman. This offer is only available at my link, drinklmnt.com/Eric Westman. You'll find that in the description below. Thank you, Element, for sponsoring this video.
Well, let me tell you about the time I cheated on the carnivore diet, and holy cow, did it mess me up. Now, this is something actually fairly recently. So I was in Europe with my family, and we were in the south of France, and then we went to Portugal, and we came back through Paris. And all that time, I had stayed pretty consistent with a carnivore diet, although I kind of had to shift more towards more dairy products, more eggs, and less beef, which I typically eat, and I have been eating for basically the last 9 years. I started this diet back in 2016, so it's, late 2025 here. And over those years, I have consumed meat, beef every single day, essentially. There have been periods of time up to 2 years where that's the only thing I ate, literally only beef. And, but over the years, I'd kind of brought in, from time to time, like I said, some dairy products, some eggs, some seafood, and then every once in a while, something off, just totally off plan.
Yeah, so of all the people who've been promoting a carnivore diet, Shawn Baker has a book, a channel, even a company to teach this to people. And he's been very strict and very open and transparent about what he's done. I teach a low-carb, keto kind of diet in my clinic. I call it carnivore-ish, and a little bit of vegetables and leafy greens would set it apart from a pure carnivore type of diet. But carnivore, to me, is a subset of low-carb keto metabolically. So a lot of people have this stereotype and preconceived notion that you need to have fiber. Fiber is important for elimination of the bowels and all. And on a carnivore diet, like Dr. Baker followed, he didn't have any trouble with constipation until he went to Europe, and here's his story.
That's been my consistency over the years, and generally have done pretty well with that. But, on this trip, we sort of deviated a little bit, just for a brief period of time, and the consequences were not good at all. So I decided, well, I'll just eat the regular food that comes on the menu, and not like I was eating a bunch of junk food. It was just kind of normal food that people would eat. So if it was steak frites, then I would eat the frites, basically the potatoes that come with that, and a few other odds and ends things. And I was consuming quite a bit more dairy than I'm used to doing. And one of the things I noticed, well, obviously, when traveling, sleep is a little jacked up, and it just is due to the time zone difference, due to sleeping in different beds, and different schedules and different routines and so on and so forth. So that was something that I was dealing with. But besides that, I started to notice, probably with all the dairy I was consuming or something like that, I was developing a little bit of a rash, on the thorax and some of the side. Nothing, it didn't bother me too much. It wasn't like itchy or painful or anything, but I just noticed, hey, there's a little rash there. It's kind of unusual. I don't usually have stuff like that. So that was, one of the things. But the real problem was, and this was significant, this was not a minor thing, this was a real almost like a medical emergency for me. I was really concerned about this. We had one more day left and then we're going to get on the plane the following day. So about 36 hours before leaving, I developed the worst case of constipation I've ever had in my life. And I'm not talking about a little bit. I'm not talking about some minor inconvenience, a little straining on the toilet. This was so severe that I had visions and seriously considered I'd have to go to the ER to get disimpacted.
Yeah, so it's just amazing how the world has changed, where we follow influencer doctors on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, social media. And now Dr. Baker's talking about his constipation episode where he almost had to be disimpacted. Now, he's a physician, he's an orthopedic surgeon, and as I remember talking to him, he has done knee replacements and hip replacements, all these different things. And to have personal constipation and talk about it is, well, that's pretty remarkable. I'm not quite so open about things as he is. But I think the shock value here is everyone assumes on a carnivore diet that you'll have constipation. And he never did, or claims to have never had constipation until he started eating, well, the delicious yet rich French foods, it looks like. So the cheese, the dairy, the greens, that sort of thing. Also, he did point out that he was probably dehydrated with the travel and the sleep. And so a couple points here are cheese is probably one of the most constipating foods that people tell me about. And then also hydration is really important for how our bowels work. And let me just take a moment to explain. So when you eat or drink, it's like there's a tube, your stomach and then intestines, and then it comes out the other end, right? So gravity is in peristalsis, the activity of the intestines push the stool down that way. Actually, your body puts in water into the digestive juices, bile, things like that. So that the job of the colon, the large intestine, is to reclaim the water, to suck it back. So if you're low on water, your stools will be hard and your urine will be dark in general, unless you have a medical issue going on. So the way to get hydration is not just water, it's salt in water. Thus we talk about electrolytes, and I wonder if he just kind of lost the focus on getting electrolytes and fluids. I think it can be hard sometimes when you're traveling internationally or even locally to keep track of that. So be sure to hydrate and get plenty of sleep. Maybe avoid a big bolus of cheese if you're not used to having that. That said, the idea of a constipation and how you manage that, I'll get into that in just a minute, because there are some simple ways other than salt and water, hydrating, to help prevent or manage hard stools or hard to pass stools, which is what constipation is. It's not how often you go. There are a lot of different rules of you need to go every day or every other day and you'll be full of toxins. No, I don't think it matters how often you go, but you shouldn't have to have difficulty passing the stools even on a carnivore diet.
I think it was like I had cement in my bowels. I mean, and I think it was because of the fiber, which I'm not used to eating. I just don't eat fiber, so all the fiber that I had included, it increased in my diet, plus probably the overconsumption of fromage or the cheese. And so I'm in there, just straining, and finally over about a period of 3 hours and 3 or 4 times, I'm able to get a decent amount out of me to where I feel like I don't have to go to the bathroom anymore, which was a feat in itself. And so thankfully I was like, well, I don't have to go to the ER at least. And so I decided, the next day I was like, I'm just not eating. So I ended up fasting for like 48 hours, on the plane back and so on and so forth, and got home. And then at that point, just given a couple things, I decided, hey, I'm just going to do a complete reset, complete 100% beef diet. And I'll talk to you about how that's been going in another video here. But suffice it to say, cheating on the carnivore diet sometimes can be disastrous. I mean, we're all human. Sometimes we drift from side to side from time to time, but my God, Don't do it like that. Don't eat too much cheese and add a bunch of fiber in there, because it was not a fun experience. I used to think about, old people talking about their bowels all the time and how they would complain about that. And I was thinking, oh, why are they all worried about their bowels? But my God, an experience I care never to replicate again. Let me know if anything like that has happened to you guys when you've cheated on carnivore, if anything negative has happened to you. It's interesting to see how that applies. Glad to be back on the regular routine back home. It makes such a big difference in quality of life. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Well, I'm not sure if hearing a doctor's experience with constipation is the best way to learn about this, but the idea is you want to keep the bowels moving. The change in the diet is fascinating because the microbiome does change, the stool bacteria change, and I don't recommend that you take extra bacteria or to make your bowel flora, the bacteria, look like someone who's been eating carbohydrates, because if you haven't been eating carbohydrate, and a carnivore diet is a super low carbohydrate diet, your bacteria will change, and then if you change the diet, you're giving a different set of information and food for those bacteria to grow or not grow on. So I think you want to, the older you are, the less hydrated you are, you want to be careful about what you eat. Now, I don't like the word cheating. It's not like we're going to be sending you to the principal's office for looking on your neighbor's test. If you eat carbs, you have to burn carbs, and you'll hear me say that in the clinic. So if you want to burn fat, you have to burn through all the carbs. Well, alcohol first, then the carbs, then your body will start burning its own fat. And so in this case, no, fiber is not necessary with a carnivore diet. Dr. Baker did not have any trouble with his bowels till he reintroduced the looks like French cuisine, which has a lot of cheese, and that not such a great story. But I think what we can learn here is you want to be sure you keep the electrolytes in. If you're traveling, be careful to keep drinking and hydrating, and alcohol can be dehydrating. He didn't mention drinking wine, but that can be a change where it might, again, your body might suck back all the water from the stool so it comes out hard, and you don't want to get it so hard that you have constipation like that. If you're stuck and you feel like nothing can come out, then you want to work from below. He finally did use like a suppository or enema that will help unpack things, unclog things from below. Don't want to be adding in lots of things from the top if you have a serious impaction or bowel obstruction. So that's just a common medical kind of approach to constipation. Especially if you have nausea, you're unable to keep fluids down. With constipation, then you'll want to seek medical attention for sure. So, well, we learned one side effect of consuming carbs on a carnivore diet. He also included the rash, which was something he hadn't had before. Don't know what that was from. And otherwise, lots of things can improve. Let me know, like Dr. Baker did, let me know your comments below, how you keep things moving. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Look out for content on Wednesdays and Fridays. If you enjoyed this video, consider joining our YouTube membership for early access and exclusive live Q&As with me. Just click the join button below or support us with a PayPal in the description.